So I got cut off because obviously Ms. Vicchio can't stop talking. So let's go back to what I was talking about. Cleisthenes creating a legislative body. So he created this house of government and he put random people in there, and they were the ones to be in charge of maintaining law and order. And I'm not talking about the great television show. I'm talking about simply making sure that the laws are being enforced, and if they weren't being enforced properly, the people would be in trouble. Law and order, just a very basic concept. Um, it was similar to how we run things today, but clearly a little bit different in terms of we don't throw random people into a governing body. And there's a couple more rules in place than just maintaining law and order. But Solon and Cleisthenes did radically change ancient Greece, more specifically ancient Athens, from a monarchy to a direct democracy. Now, I mentioned direct democracy and indirect democracy before, and you might be saying to yourself, Ms. Vicchio, what is going on with you? Now, there's two ways to a democracy. Is the concept of democracy is by the people, of the people, for the people, which is great, but there's a lot of logistics that go in there. So if we're talking about direct democracy, a direct democracy is what we saw in ancient Athens, and all citizens were allowed to vote. But of course, we try to talk about what makes a citizen. All citizens were allowed to vote. Now, decisions were based on majority rule. So let's say it's between pizza or Chinese for dinner. If more people vote for pizza, guess what? There's going to be pizza for dinner that night. But this idea is that every citizen had to vote on every issue. So let's say on day one, on a Monday, they were talking about three different issues. People got up, they said their pieces, and then people voted. And everyone got their own colored rock, and they put their rock in choice A or choice B, whatever the choice may be. They put it in two different areas so that they can count who got the most votes. Being a citizen in ancient Athens was its full-time job based on all the voting that was going on. That became very burdensome. Imagine every time there is a vote in the American government, all of us have to stop what we're doing and go and vote on that one issue. Clearly, we're talking about a society in America. We have indirect democracy, and even with an indirect democracy of us going to the polls once every 2 years for senators, once every 6 years for House of Representatives, depending on the timetable, and of course every 4 years for president, we had more people not vote in the last election and in the election of 2016 than we had people who voted. We had more people not vote in an election that did vote, and they only had to vote for one day, and it doesn't take long to vote if you've ever gone in with your parents or grandparents or whoever. When I go and vote, it takes me not that long. Now, you're talking about a group of people in 2016 who chose not to vote, and more people chose not to vote than did vote, and now we are seeing the repercussions of that right now. Very simple. When we have a leader and we have a time where something really bad happens to majority of the public, if we're talking about the coronavirus, we look to our leaders to put things in place to make it happen, to fix the mistakes, to make this craziness stop. And obviously, this is something that we're struggling with in 2020. Now, it is an election year, and hopefully more people will go to the polls than they did in 2016, and there will be more people who voted than who did not vote. Because again, that's a major problem. So in ancient Greece, in ancient Athens, you had to vote on every single topic. That's called direct democracy. The citizen is voting directly on each and every topic. Now, in an indirect democracy, as we see in modern day the United States of America, the people